Good day, friends. I'm Stephen from Waarheid Truth, and we talk truth about the world we live in. Today, we're going to discuss distorted relationships and what effect does that have on people in the world. So the question today is, what if Stalin, Hitler, Charles Manson, for instance, and Diane Wuornos, I don't know how you pronounce her name, broken relationships, mediocre marriages, and millions of people have in common? Distorted relationships in the family. Let me just go back for a step. God created the universe, and He put in place structures and government levels under which and in which we all in this universe live, and specifically on this earth. So to give you an idea of the structure as far as earth is concerned, here I am, and then the structure above me, the level above me under which I resort, to put it that way, is the family structure. Then we get the business level, then obviously your government level, and then God Himself is head of all this structure and government and in control of all that happens in the universe. So that is the structure we exist in. Whether we like it, whether we see it, whether we don't like it, it does not matter. That's the way He made creation. It's like gravity. You don't have to believe in gravity. I would suggest maybe not get on a third floor building and then jump from there. I don't think it will work, or you would get hurt. Or one does not have to believe in electricity. I would again suggest don't put your hand, your fingers, don't put it into a wall plug with the current on. All right. So what is the first level? How am I made? How are all Homo sapiens created? I'm three-dimensional, to put it that way. So firstly, we've got our body. I'm born into a physical body. I am a spirit that lives forever. Once I am born, I live forever. My final destination is another discussion. And then I consist of a soul. In other words, my personality, my emotions, my brain. In other words, who I am. All right. That is who all of us human beings are and how we were made. Right. Then the second level is the family. So I resort under a family. I was brought into a family in this world, whether it happened physically, whether there was no family, whether I was born out of wedlock, whatever the situation was, it doesn't matter again. That's the structure that exists, and which Father's plan, Godfather's plan was and is that we should grow up in. And that structure is father, mother, and siblings. Pa, ma, and boeties and sissies. Many of us do not have brothers and sisters, maar jy het familie, of die is dat jy met familie en vriende verhoudings bou. So this structure again exists in the family. And what's the role of each? The role of father is he is the role model. He creates a structure for the house, the ambiance, the atmosphere. He builds the value system. He determines what value system will we follow. And He is the spiritual God. So he's the God at the gate of our city, which is the family. Afrikaans has got a great word, geestelike brandwag. So hy is die brandwag oor wat gebeur met denke en opvoeding in my familie. Then you have mom. Now she is absolutely crucial in the family household. She determines sort of the environment. She's the one that gives us TLC, tender love and care. Sy koester, Afrikaans is 'n goeie woord vir koester. We can talk to her, we share our secrets with her. So she's sort of the, shall we call it the couch, the comfort zone in the house. I put in brackets here what actually also can happen is mom could also be a producer and can Afrikaans boeker and really work very hard out there to generate wealth and things like that. Again, another topic in terms of Proverbs 31. En dan het ons boeties en sissies, as ons die voorreg gehad het om boeties en sissies te hê. Yeah, and they build our personality. So many times where we don't have siblings, we will have friends or family that sort of play that role of that define and build our personality in interaction with other people. So that is how the Lord created this structure. Whether it happened that way or whether it happens is another topic again. Right. So what happens if we extrapolate this structure to the top? So there I am, body, spirit, and soul, which communicates and links with the second level, which is the family model. So my body sort of relates to father, my spirit is with mother, and the siblings is the soul. So what are we saying? In other words, there's a role for each of these, shall I call it, role players in creation. And so it extrapolates to the top with God Trinity, where God Father represents Father. So Father, on the other hand, in other words, represent God Father. Father is the role model of what God Father is or should be. And the same with Mother, the role of the Holy Spirit, and our siblings or family with Jesus, Son of God. Now again, so whether this works or not, that is how he's structured. If the relationships and if the dynamics work like it should, then we do get a complete family with mistakes. We're human beings, but with family that everyone understands its role, fulfill its role, and build and develop one another in the house, or definitely the parents, the children, or me, that I can achieve the best I can be. If that does not happen, then it happens that there's a break and I leave or lose out on the higher levels. Okay, so what happens here? So let's assume that the relationship breaks. This is now where I go back to the examples I started with, the extreme examples of Stalin and Hitler and everybody else. Is what happens in the world is that we are born into a dysfunctional family or no family. Children were born out of wedlock, for instance. If you look at Charles Manson, there's plenty of examples, or criminals, or just plain normal people. Then you would find there was a problem, if I may put it that way, in the family unit, in that structure, right? So what happens is that when, let's assume there's no relationship with father, and I don't have a relationship with my father, so that link is broken. Then that link is also broken right through to the top of God Father. So my question to you would be, if you are a reborn Christian, and I would ask you, how far do you see God the Father from you? In other words, if you now think, if you stand and think or sit and think, where is God the Father? Where do you see him? Is he far from you? Is he close to you? Is he sort of very far? Okay, the same with the Holy Spirit, the same with Jesus, his Son. If it is that he's very far or you don't really associate with that person, it most probably comes back to where this relationship broke down initially, whichever way, before conception, at conception, after birth, whatever happened in our lives, the history of our lives, the timeline of our lives is there's a break between me and my Father. Many people, many millions of people have most probably some sort of, many not, but I'm talking of people who have a defect, if I may call it that, is that the relationship is not in place with either the father or the mother, or if I had brothers and sisters. And many people had a problem where the father disowned them, where the father abandoned them. Maybe not physically, they grew up in the house together, but father did not really recognize his daughter, for instance, or his son, which gives us a sense of rejection. Now, this is very subconsciously, or it was harsh abuse, which could happen with that extreme examples, or many people, or we grew up in the house, all fine, but there was some sort of break between us and the parties to the top, to put it that way, to the other role players. They call this the father ladder. That's the theory of this. So when you have a broken relationship, what happens to the heart? You get a broken heart. It may even happen over time. It may even happen without you really realizing it, except you to realize late in your life, but I do have a problem. How will this manifest? It will manifest in how we live eventually. So we have to understand one thing on this earth, which people really do forget. And if I look at society around me, people is forgetting the natural law and spiritual law of creation. What we sow, we reap. So whatever we do in life have consequences, and it can even have an effect into future generations. The great, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Creation brings forth fruit of its own kind. So it can be great fruit. We're wholesome. I'm a wholesome human being. I've got total peace with myself. I'm balanced. I'm confident. I could be a successful student. I'm focused in what I'm doing. My relationships are great. That does not mean there cannot be problems. Again, we live in a fallible world. We live in the world with pain. We live in the world which is not perfect yet, right? But the point is we have better chance to succeed in life and have success around it. On the other hand, the broken heart, that's also another topic that we will discuss, what happens with a broken heart. But so in other words, if we were abandoned of an ontken, my ouer of my pa of my ma het my ontken, that is rejection, or it can be rejection. So you most probably will have broken relationships in your life. You're unsure, could even be immature. The chances are very good that you will have an emotional lower intelligence level. You're emotionally not that strong or mature or wise. One could even have a low IQ, which I will discuss at another time. So the solution is what? So if it's applicable to you, that you find, but yes, so there were problems in my life, and if I now think back, there were hassles in my home, or I grew up completely in a broken home or no home, then understand most probably the foundation is the relationship with my role players who were broken and interrupted. One of the greatest tragedies, if we think now of people that grew up in distorted, shall we call it that, or dysfunctional environment and communities and homes, is that it affects you forever if you do not get the chance where one could rectify and do the necessary to fix that. All right. So what will one do? Speak to somebody whom you trust, who has pure relationship with God Trinity. Do a prayer of forgiveness for those people, what they did to you. Let them go, let them free. I let my father go in peace. I also understand today he was a human being, and he also had his faults. And his faults also came through generations. Ask Father to heal you completely and restore your heart, your mind, your emotions. So in other words, you have to reprogram. Then after this healing process, you have to reprogram your mind in line with the Lord's thoughts. You may even have to go for a bit of therapy, and even where you get help where you are restored in who you are. And the key is through the blood of the cross for what Jesus did for us on the cross. Again, whether we accept it or not, that is the rule he wrote. That is how he determined civilization. Great. Thanks very much. Go safe.